afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. We hope it is good, and welcome to the special Halloween edition of Geeks Who Like Sports, Season 2, Episode 5. As always, I am Ray Carcillo, a.k.a. Ray Stance, rookie Ghostbuster here in Los Angeles. Join my best friend in entire world over in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Ted Lasso, a.k.a. Lee Elias. Lee, happy Halloween. How are you, buddy?
Well, Ray, I just got to say, I really love your costume, but it says Carcillo on there. It doesn't say Stance, which makes it even better for me.
It is. I am actually myself as a rookie Ghostbuster. I have the custom name tag and everything.
I'm going to be honest with you, Ray. That thing fits you better than a pickle in a Texas jar. Allow me to go back to my normal accent. Ray, that costume, for those of you watching, Ray has an authentic Ghostbusters costume. And that is not just the best fitting costume I've ever seen. That is the best fitting outfit I have ever seen you wear. People listening at home, I'm not kidding. You have to go check out a picture or a video of Ray here. Yes. It just completely makes sense in the oddest or maybe not oddest way possible. But that thing, you were born to wear that, Ray.
I was born to wear this. I am ready to believe you. And yes, we are. This was something I wanted to do for a very long time, and finally was like, you know what, I'm going to get myself a proton pack. I'm going to get myself a jumpsuit, the custom name tag. I got the elbow pads. I got everything. I am not wearing the military boots at this moment, but I do have the actual boots, or obviously not the actual boots, but obviously the same kind of boots that they wear in the show. But because I'm sitting down and I'm inside my apartment, I'm not wearing the boots.
That is a fantastic costume. And I am dressed up as myself because this show is clearly based off my life. But it made sense for me to have this costume as well. People will know what it is. It comes with a little whistle. You ready for how bad this is? Did you hear that, Ray?
Barely.
Hear that? Yeah.
Barely.
But no, it's one of my favorite shows. And obviously I do a lot of work in the Lasso space with the Ted heads. And and Caitlin got me these, our producer got me these aviators. They're officially licensed Lasso aviators, so I can be Ted Lasso or Led Tasso for those of you that watch the show. But full jumpsuit with pants. I'm ready to go. Hey, barbecue sauce.
So happy Halloween from all of us here at Geeks Who Like Sports. For myself, for Lee, for Caitlin, and Zabby. We are all extremely excited for Halloween. It's gonna be a great show today. We hope you all have that's why
we got a good episode too. It's not even just Halloween. We got a good episode for you on Halloween. Got some really good topics, like juicy topics, less topics, more juicy topics. Therefore, making the Burger King Whopper episode, because at BK you have it your way, just like GWLS, which is the initials of our podcast, which is also our discount code. Use that on Cutscene.
On Cutscene, make sure to. We'll talk more about Cutscene later in the episode, but yes, absolutely, definitely make sure to remember cutscenesleep.com and go to use code GWLS at checkout for 10% off. Big episode, like Lee said. We're in the middle of the World Series. Of course, we're going to kick things off. The Fall Classic.
Nope, don't want to talk about that. Don't want to talk about that.
Further and further into fall every year.
Oh, yes. I will talk about that.
Yes. But first, kicking things off, Lee, I know we mentioned it last week. We did our special time travel episode. Lee's still a little sore that his Phillies are not there. And
sore is not the right word.
So, to be fair, all of baseball hurts with you because it really feels like nobody's watching or caring about this World Series between Arizona and Texas. For those of you who are wondering, though, this is out. We are recording hours before Game 3, so it is currently the series is 1-1. Texas had a miraculous comeback against their closer, the Diamondbacks closer, Paul Sewald. First runs he's given up all postseason. They tied it and then won it in the 11th. And then Game 2, Arizona absolutely dominated from basically almost from start to finish in Game 2. So it's gonna be interesting to see what happens here. I think now the series shifts, not just because it's shifting to Arizona, and now obviously they take away home field advantage from Texas. I do think the series at this point favors the Diamondbacks, Lee, which of course were your pick to win it all, and I picked Texas because of the starting pitching at this point. No one knows what you're going to get from Texas. Now, you don't know what you're going to get from Scherzer. You don't know what you're going to get in Game 4. If they're going to go with John Gray, if they're going to do a bullpen game. The Diamondbacks, they've had the pitching advantage the whole time, but now they might really have the pitching advantage, and we know pitching wins championships. What are your thoughts so far on the World Series at this point?
Yeah, when you get to this point of the season, the analytical is always appreciated, but it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter this time of year. A guy can come up and have the game of his life, which these games tend to demand out of people. You just never know who's going to win. And everything, like you're saying, Ray, is also a call to action to the other team of just, we don't have this, but we have this. And, a lot of it comes down to the belief. It comes down to obviously a little bit of luck, but at this point in the series, I mean, it can just go either way. These teams have both upset teams along the way.
Yeah.
I just think numbers have to get thrown out the window at this point. And it's like the best team's going to win. And it comes down to winning those final 4 games. So when it comes to the Diamondbacks, again, I told you, I look at culture, I look at reasons. They're painting themselves like this is our year of destiny, where the Rangers are just like on a rampage, right? So yeah. It's an interesting one. I mean, the home field advantage, I wish could say played a role into it, but it really hasn't in the series, both in the NL and the AL. So these are so hard to predict. I'm going to stick with my guns on the Diamondbacks just because I think that they have a little bit of a better storyline, and they have a different belief system there. They look to be invincible. Also, they punched the Rangers right in the mouth after that heartbreaking loss. Yeah, and that kind of tells you something, right? That kind of tells you something. They're not going to lay down, and also they're the type of team that comes back. So even if the Rangers end up taking a lead tonight, this could go 7 games. And again, I don't want to take anything away from the baseball players and the athletes. This is probably a pretty good World Series in terms of baseball.
Yeah.
But in terms of like the cities and the storylines and the MLB really built up like the Phillies, and they really built up, like the fan base. And then on the AL side, I think they really putting up on Houston, believe it or not.
For sure.
It's just like they kind of created this mess for themselves a little bit, but I'm interested to see the ratings. Baseball needs something. They need something to click, and this was not the series they wanted.
No, absolutely not. But I think to your point, I think it's going to be a good baseball series. I'm going to still stick with the Rangers. I think it could definitely be a long series. I think this series will head back to Texas. I don't see Arizona winning.
The longer it goes, the worse the weather gets. It's horrible.
Yes. Well, the only good thing, this is true. This is the first World Series ever where both teams play in domes.
Yeah, I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about me. The weather gets worse outside for me. I don't want to, I have to go inside and watch. I don't want to watch this.
No, it's absolutely not. We were talking about this yesterday on the phone about how baseball needs, now that the playoffs have gotten so long, right? We've had a whole extra round of playoffs. And we talked about it. Historically, it used to be, it was the fall classic, right? It was always in the beginning of October because it was American League champion, which was the team with the best record versus National League champion team with the best record. The playoffs was the World Series. Now you have 4 rounds of playoffs. Nobody wants baseball in November. Baseball needs to rectify this. They need to shorten the regular season by at least a dozen games, in my opinion.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. They did a great job expanding the playoffs, and it makes a lot of sense. But the thing that I cannot wrap my mind around, Ray, is that 90 to 95% of your season is played in warm weather, similar climates. Yeah, I understand that, some places are a little colder than others, but you don't play in the rain. You don't play in bad weather. You play, and then your most important games are being decided potentially, depends where they are, where there's weather that is completely horrible, can completely change a game, right? Can postpone a game, which we saw before. I don't understand the logic behind that. The nice part about early October or early fall is that the weather hasn't fully changed yet.
Right. It's cool, but it's not uncomfortable.
Yeah. And it's a nice escort into the fall. Right. But now it's like, I don't know. And again, we're not going to have this problem in this year's World Series, but I don't want to be watching baseball in November. I want to be watching baseball in October. We used to say October, Mr. October. October was the month.
Right.
And now it's going to always almost head into November. So I understand the revenue side of things. I really do. I'm not just saying that to the MLB owners in the business, but the MLB as a whole. But for the betterment of the game, taking 12 games off the top probably will not affect too much in terms of standings, in my opinion.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, it will affect a couple teams here or there. All right. But it changes the dynamic of the game. It's going to make the playoffs better. Yeah. Might also solve some of the problems that we were talking about where I don't agree with the problem, but teams that were complaining about, that's too long of a break between the end of the season and the divisional series, right?
Yeah, maybe.
Shorten the season. I don't like that the games are decided in poor weather. It just doesn't make sense to me. Again, it's not true around the United States. There are certain ballparks this is not a thing, but there's too many.
Yeah, in this particular series, the weather's not going to be a factor, but there are many years where it has been, and it's honestly, now that you've added, again, this extra round of playoffs, this extra week of playoff baseball, which I love. I love the wild card round. I am a huge proponent of it. I'm glad they expanded the playoffs finally. But cut the season to like 148, 150 games. And I don't think anybody's going to cry about it.
It's too much. It's always been too much to me. I don't understand why they do that many games to begin with. And here's the thing. It's a leisure sport to me. It always has been until the postseason. I think you draw more people in with less games because there's more on the line every game.
So, even go back to just go try 154, right? Yeah. Cut 8 games off. That's how it used to be. It used to be 154, and then they expanded when the league expanded. But at this point, you can cut an extra handful of games.
Well, here's what's going to happen is at some point they're going to expand to 32 teams, and then that's when you're going to see divisional alignment change, and that's going to be their opportunity. If they can get past their greed in these extra games. I'd love to hear the players union and what they have to say about this. No, we love playing November 5th.
Yeah.
When it's potentially 40 degrees outside and raining, we love that.
Well, and it's also, speaking of the players union, it's also a possible thing for player health. Right. Obviously, a longer off season means more time for recuperation.
Good point.
Means more time to bounce back from a lot of these injuries. We've talked already here on the show several times about all of the injuries cropping up around the league, and it's not just baseball. It seems to be cropping up around a lot of the leagues. We'll get to that in a second. But it really does seem to be like that 162 game schedule is just absolutely unnecessary.
I mean, if you're a baseball fan, that might sound normal to you. That sounds insane to me. Just complete insanity, that many games a season.
Yeah.
Doesn't make any sense.
No, I agree wholeheartedly. Speaking of injuries and whatnot, though, an interesting week around the NFL this week. Kirk Cousins tore another torn Achilles in the NFL. Another injury there as the Vikings go on to beat the Packers in a weird topsy-turvy of that division. Obviously, we're recording on a Monday, so we don't know the results of Monday Night Football yet, but a chance for the Lions to really put a stranglehold in that division tonight against the Raiders. I don't want to talk about the Giants and Jets.
Use your hatred. Give in to the dark side.
Folks, it was one of the worst football games of all time.
All time.
Of the modern era. This felt like a 1945 football game, right? Where it was just sloppy play. No offense knew what they were doing. It was dominated by the defenses. The Giants are down to their 3rd string quarterback after Tyrod Taylor left early in the second quarter with a rib injury. He ended up being held in the hospital overnight. There's a good chance that he probably is done. The Giants might have to go sign like a Colt McCoy or a Matt Barkley or something to bolster their quarterback depth. And also, and I have been a very, very staunch defender of Brian Daboll until now. Brian Daboll really screwed the pooch yesterday in terms of his play calling, in terms of just really trying to rolling over in the second half. And look, the Giants held on to a lead for 29 of those 30 minutes. The Giants were up 10-7, for most of the second half. And the Giants ran, punt. Ran, punt. I think it was the second most punts all time. The most punts in a single NFL game in the modern era was 27. The Giants and Jets combined for 24 punts yesterday. 13 by the Giants, 11 by the Jets. It is a disgusting display by both teams, and part of it is on the coach. I get it, it's your 3rd string quarterback, but the kid threw 4 passes in regulation. He threw 3 in overtime. Give the kid a shot. Take a shot downfield. Do something. He throws a pick. The season's basically over anyway. See what you have in this kid. And then, of course, on the 4th and 1 play, 4th and 1 at the Jets about their 15, I want to say, the Giants had a chance to ice the game. A first down with a minute to go. 4th and 1 at the Jet 15. The Giants win the game. You're in victory formation. The game is over. Instead, I think it was less than a minute, actually. I think it was like half minute. Instead, they tried to kick a field goal. Lee, Tell me again. Football's not like baseball. They play in the rain, right? And the rain can really kind of screw some things up, right? And
yeah, I believe that to be accurate.
Right. And yesterday at the Meadowlands, it was downpouring. It was absolutely just rain coming out the wazoo. Everybody out in their ponchos, right? Your kicker already missed the field goal. The Jets kicker already missed the field goal. I saw it as soon as the ball was snapped. I'm like, he's missing this. It was a bad hold. The laces weren't out. And what did he do? He shanked it to the left. Missed it by a mile, even though it was a chip shot field goal. Because again, it's not easy to play in the elements. So, and then of course the Giants defense, 20 seconds or 25 seconds. Now, mind you, because of the missed field goal, the Jets got an extra 10 yards of field position. The Jets were able to march down the field, kick the tying field goal. And then again, because now we don't have any offense, the Jets were very easily able to win it in overtime. I have been a very staunch defender of Brian Daboll until today. If you're trying to tank the season, and I wouldn't blame you, come out and say it. Just come out and say it. Let me know so I don't have to watch anymore. Just let me know. Because that kind of coaching yesterday says this is a lost season. And we don't care. Carolina won. If we keep losing, we might get the number 1 overall pick. And we might get ourselves a real quarterback. Because, again, it definitely ain't dumpster fire Danny Jones. It ain't Tyrod. I get hurt every other game, Taylor. And it definitely ain't Tommy DeVito, who was freaking slinging deli meats 2 weeks ago. Because, down the street in Lyndhurst or whatever. And then so he gets called up like, oh, look at me. I'm a New York freaking Giant. Look at me. Hey, guys, look at me on the field. I'm Tommy DeVito. Good for the kid. Honestly, good for the kid. But we have no idea what he could even do because all he did was hand the ball off the whole second half. I am sick of this team, and I am off the Daboll wagon. This is to the Maritish trust that owns the Giants. Sell the team. Sell the team. I am so sick of all these idiots. Morons that make millions, if not billions of dollars. And who's the jackass watching? Me.
Oh, Ray, where are you going next Sunday?
I'm going to Vegas to watch the Giants get their butt kicked by the Raiders.
Ray, I think there might be a psychological term for the ailment that you have. This is like the bad girlfriend or boyfriend that you keep going back to after they've cheated on you many, many times because of the good times. A friend, and that's the truth. You know what it is? And I told this to my mom yesterday. I said this word for word. I said, Ma, it feels like for every amazing moment we've had with the Giants, right? 3 Super Bowls basically won on the last play of the game virtually, right? 3 of the 4. The only one we really dominated was the one against Denver, Super Bowl 21. For all the great moments we had, there are at least 5 embarrassing losses to go with them. From like 3 miracles at the Meadowlands against the Eagles to yesterday against the Jets. It is sickening. And the sad thing is the tickets were a gift. That's why I'm going next week. I didn't have to pay. You don't have to justify it, man. You're a Giants fan.
Yeah, but boy, after games like yesterday, I sure don't want to be sometimes. It's really, really sickening to watch.
I will tell you as your friend, only as your friend, I feel for you.
Yes.
But when you say things like, of all those Super Bowls we won, for every one of those amazing last-second plays that we won those Super Bowls, there's bad times. I have no sympathy for you. I'm sorry.
That's
none.
fair.
0. You think it's tough being a New York fan because you haven't won in a decade. It's not. It's tough right now. And I feel for you as your friend right now.
At least I have the Rangers.
You do. Hey, hockey. You love hockey.
Right? It's hockey. They got to have the Rangers. The Knicks are already a disgrace and a travesty.
Okay.
We're not going to go.
Hold on, Ray. So we almost approached blood gushing out of your eyes, Ray. There, but close. Yeah. Allow me to maybe push this over the pin. What are you going to do when you sign Carson Wentz as your quarterback in a week?
I mean, we can't go any lower.
That's who's available right now.
Here it is. It's Matt Barkley. It's Colt McCoy. It's Case Keenum. It's Carson Wentz. Those are probably the quarterbacks. I mean, unless the Giants go really off the I mean, look, I wouldn't be opposed to it. Go sign Colin Kaepernick.
They won't do it.
They won't, but I'd be like, let's see what the heck happens. Roll the dice.
He's too old now at this point, but I think Carson Wentz is actually your best bet. He knows the division. He knows the team.
And then also on top
who are you going to call, Ray? Who are you going to call?
Ghostbusters.
That was the correct answer. Wow. Okay, let's get you off the Giants.
But wait, I'm not even done. I got one more thing about the Giants. And then we were embarrassed even on the radio in New York this week when morons at WFAN, I'm not going to say their names because they're that inconsequential to honestly, they're just desperately trying to get ratings. They hung up on Carl Banks, our Hall of Fame linebacker, because he told them, and factually correctly, by the way, Kayvon Thibodeau now has 9 sacks on the year and is in the top 5 in the league. And they're like, Kayvon Thibodeau's a bust. Last time I checked, Lee, 9 sacks in 8 games. Pretty good, right? Pretty good. The average attack a game. That's a Hall of Fame caliber. If you do that for a career, you're in the Hall of Fame.
Right. I agree.
So just a quick shout out to WFAN. You haven't been relevant in 20 years, and you cannot be relevant.
Here's the deal, is that...
You hung up on Carl freaking Banks!
Yeah, I have real strict guidelines with that. There is a respect that is due. Yes. It is not for radio show hosts, especially bad ones, to dictate things like that.
Yeah.
That is not your job.
Yeah.
And it's insulting to everyone who's ever worked in the industry that you would do something like that. Don't ever do that again. It is lame as all hell, right? It is. You are not the authority. You are a voice for the people. You are, but you should be garnering conversations, not doing that kind of political crap that has got this country so deep in a media clickhole. Sports is the last remaining place where that potentially could not happen, and you're going down that realm too. Yeah. It is not for you to decide whose opinion is correct or not. It's to share them, you moron. Who are you going to call?
And that's why you call Geeks who like sports. That's why you don't listen to sports radio anymore. You listen to us.
Let's be honest. This is one of the reasons we do this. Not just because it's fun, but it's like you get tired of like these idiots that have no morals whatsoever. Like, I'll say it right now. You disagree or agree with anything we say here, come on the show or send us an email and we'll discuss it.
Yeah.
Like, that's what we're here for. We're not here to tell you that your opinions don't matter. Moron.
Yeah.
Hold on. I'm going to blow foul. Penalty. Using our props today.
There we go.
See, that's a red card.
Yes.
Yeah, that's how much I know about soccer.
There we go. But other stories around the NFL, the Eagles handled Washington down in Washington. Lee, you were there.
I was there. Ray, little known fact. This is going to surprise everyone listening. First Eagles game I've ever been to.
I was shocked when you told me that. I was legitimately, my jaw hit the floor.
Well, it makes a lot of sense when you think about it. Couldn't afford it when we were growing up. Then I left for 18 years. And then when I came back, COVID hit. So it kind of makes sense. Not a team I would have wanted to see at the Meadowlands or at MetLife when I was living up in there in New Jersey. And not to mention tickets were not exactly things we could afford at that time of our lives.
Yeah.
So it made sense. And, as predicted, I said it would be somewhat of a close game, and it was. But it was really cool to not my first football game. I should say that wasn't the first football game I've ever been to, but first Eagles game. It was fun to watch with my brother and just enjoy it. Some great plays, and it was fun to go there. It was fun to see it in another stadium. And, listen, everybody gives Philly fans crap. And I don't know any different because that was a Phillies home game, Eagles home game yesterday. There's way more green in that stadium than burgundy. Just saying.
That's like when the Eagles come play in LA too. It's the same thing because there is no
everywhere.
Home team.
No, it was really cool.
There's no home team in Los Angeles.
It was fun to watch. And football crowds are always egregious, and it's just funny for me to sit there and observe.
Yeah. Well, that's good. I'm glad you got to see a good game. I'm glad you got to see an Eagles win against the Washington Commanders. who are joining the Giants in the embarrassing basement of our division.
They are about to trade or move everybody, and everyone will be fired at the end of the season as their new ownership brings in their regime. There is no need for them to make any kind of changes outside of that right now. Like, let the old regime die kind of thing. But I expect heavy changes out of Washington, D.C. soon.
Yeah. No, for sure. The other only really big story we're going to touch on here with the NFL, there's no winless teams left. Carolina finally got their first win of the year yesterday, 15-13 over Houston, a matchup of the number 1 and number 2 overall pick. And although CJ Stroud CJ Stroud has looked better this year, Bryce Young was able to beat him, and the Panthers are now 1-6. And so now every team in the NFL has at least
and that's good. That's good. You never want to see a team go winless. It's just not right.
Like the Browns or the Lions.
Yeah. And I remember when that happened the first time, you and I were shocked.
Yeah.
I mean, it just shouldn't be able to happen at this level, but it's good for parity. It's good to know that any given Sunday that has to remain true, or football loses its luster.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely, for sure. And actually, it was kind of an any given Sunday kind of Sunday. You had a lot of interesting games. The Bengals looked sharp against the Niners, which obviously the Niners were heavily favored in. You had the Ravens absolutely destroyed the Cardinals, which wasn't that surprising. You know, not going to go through game by game, but there was a lot of really good, interesting games. Oh, Denver upset Kansas City. That's the one I was trying to remember. Denver upset Kansas City. That was a huge one, which obviously everyone's going to say, well, Kansas City fell into the trap. We'll see, because they have a tough game in Germany now against Miami next week. But that definitely, I mean, if they lose next week, then we'll see. But this definitely had the makings of a trap, and good for Denver to now get to 3-5. They forced 5 turnovers. Russell Wilson finally actually looked like his old self a little bit, through a couple of touchdown passes. So that was a big thing too. So there was some interesting upsets around the league yesterday. As you mentioned, Lee, the parity, the any given Sunday aspect, definitely.
Yeah, it's good for the league. It's good to not know who's going to win. And again, like outside the NFC being kind of weak overall this year, even those games you never know. Which again, I like that, especially when football is such a singular sport. There's no series, right? It's just kind of the one and done nature of it. Yeah. Unlike all the other sports, it's got to remain that with that parity, or you have a massive problem.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, it's true. You mentioned, look, we're about at the midway point of the season, just a little bit before it. You're starting to see, obviously, a lot of the cream of the crop is starting to rise. Oh, yeah, the cream of the crop is rising to the top. Sorry, I had to do my Macho Man.
It's actually pretty good. And in a Ghostbusters uniform, this is like a full 80s episode. I like it.
Oh, yeah, full mashup. That's a mashup right there. Macho Man as a Ghostbuster.
I'm writing that story in my mind right now. I, Vigo, Lord of a Oh, yeah, Vigo, we're going to play a piece of me. All right.
What did you do, Ray? Yeah, what did you do?
No, you got to do that. When someone asks you if you're a god, you say, oh, yeah.
There it is. There we go. That might be. That might be
when someone asks you if you're a god, you say, oh, yeah. That's how you have to do that one.
There we go. That's a mini mashup. That's a mini mashup for you.
I mean,
what pro wrestlers would make good Ghostbusters?
That I'm going to write that down. That is really good.
I'm going to write it down too.
I mean, just the entrance music alone, right?
Yeah.
Oh
my God. Fun. With all the pyro and stuff, with proton packs firing
it would be brilliant. Oh my goodness. Yeah. This, I'm writing it down.
Yep, absolutely. But yeah, so yeah, the NFC, we're starting to see, like you said, that there's a very much a defined top layer of the NFC. It should be Eagles, Niners, and then honestly, probably then the next tier is probably Cowboys, and depending on what happens tonight, maybe even the Lions.
I'd put the Lions in that next tier now. I mean, they could get a lead if they win, but I mean, the Eagles and the Niners are the teams to beat. I mean, let's put it this way: if they're not in the NFC Championship game, that's disappointment for those two teams.
Absolutely.
Right? I don't think any other team can kind of say that right now.
Yeah.
All right. They need that rematch big time.
Although I will say, because the Niners have lost 2 in a row, the Seahawks keep winning. The Seahawks are technically in first place right now. I don't know if that's how that'll finish at the end of the season.
All I'm saying is that, no one would have picked the Seahawks to be in that game. It's the Niners or Eagles must be in that game for their seasons to be somewhat justified. In fact, I could make the argument the Eagles need to be back in the Super Bowl, but I don't ever think that's a fair argument because it's so hard to make it. But if they lose in anything other than their conference championship, it's a bad season for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally fair. Totally agree.
Whereas in the AFC, there's like 4 teams you could say. I mean, obviously Kansas City's always in that conversation, but there's several teams that are like, well, they could be there. They could be there. They could be there.
Yeah. Oh no. I mean, that's the thing is like, I mean, even with their win yesterday, the Jets, even though the Jets have really kind of escaped with a couple of really ugly wins, the Jets are 4-3.
Yeah, they're right there.
They're right there, right? So you have Miami, you have Buffalo, you have the Jets. Yeah. Then you've got obviously Pittsburgh, I think is 4-3. Yeah, Baltimore is very good. Cleveland's 4-3. The Bengals are 4-3. So that entire North division is very tight.
Yeah,
you
see more bad football coming out of the NFC this year than the AFC.
Yes.
Like the AFC football is good, and there's teams in the AFC that are like have a losing record. That's like, yeah, if you're in the NFC,
the Chargers are 3-4. It's a perfect example. The Chargers would probably be 5-2 in the NFC.
Right. It's interesting. It's interesting to see, but again, there's still parity in the league. Don't get me wrong, but it's like the AFC is a little top heavy right now compared to the NFC is top heavy compared to the AFC right now.
Yeah, there's like 5 of the 16 teams in the NFC that you're like, okay, those are your good teams. There's like 11 of the 16 teams in the AFC where you're like, okay, those are good teams. What's
interesting is that, when the Eagles schedule came out this year, the big concern, I'm saying this for a reason, because obviously the Eagles are at the top of the NFC. It was like, oh wow, that's a really competitive schedule. And here we are, 6-1, right? Or 7-1, excuse me.
7-1, yeah.
Yeah. And now the next 5 games are going to be games, right? It's like we got the Cowboys twice, we got Kansas City, we got Buffalo in there. I mean, it's these are all games we could lose. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. They're winning the games they're supposed to win, except the Jets, which may have woken us up. But this is going to be a real test now for those NFC teams. Like we're about to find out how good the Eagles really are, but a lot could shake up in those next 3 or 4 weeks now.
Yeah. The Jets should have lost to both the Eagles and the Giants, and somehow
good on the Jets for winning, man. I mean, they're finding a way. I mean, like I said, they're finding a way to win. It's like
I
feel like they're always playing up or down to the team they're playing, but you can't help but wonder, man, if they had Rodgers, like where is that team right now?
No, that is a good question. As he continues to dance along the sideline somehow with his busted Achilles.
Yeah. And he's committed to play next year, as you said. So
yes, he is committed to next year 100%. We are that's the thing. That's a good question. I mean, if Zach Wilson does take the Jets to the playoffs this year.
No, it's him no matter what. That's great. Right, great time to trade him. He would trade. I think they trade Wilson in a heartbeat if that happens.
Actually, he'd be at an all-time. His value would be at an all-time high.
Yeah, I mean, and again, it's like it's one of those things of you need a guy, but it depends on when you can get back. I really like Saleh as a coach. We'll see. I mean, look, one of the things all the fans listening to this, professional sports administrators, owners, GMs, they are very smart, intelligent people, but they make mistakes.
Unless they work for the Giants.
Unless
then they are not smart people.
Well, I'm just saying, like I was trying to give perspectives into this. They're very intelligent, but these are extremely high risk positions. Yeah. What I mean by that is if you don't take massive risk, you're not going to do well.
Yeah.
Right. And like now, Howie Roseman of the Eagles is one who's like, it looks like he's on top of the world right now because everything's working out, but makes one bad one, it could be potentially devastating. So I don't know. It's one of those things, man. They make mistakes. You said it. Some of the play calling alone, and I saw this at the Eagles game. It's like there was a play. Washington could have ran the ball to keep the clock running, and they threw it, and it was incomplete. And it's like stop the clock, and it's like you just gave us the time we needed. What are you doing?
Yeah.
So we'll see. People make mistakes.
Yeah, a lot of mistakes. Anyway, you know what we talk about the value of Zach Wilson maybe being at an all-time high. You know what value is always at an all-time high, Lee?
Tell me, Ray.
A good night's sleep.
A good night's sleep. And how, Ray, would you get a good night's sleep?
Well, that's a great question, Lee. You know what you do? You take Cutscene. You go to cutscenesleep.com and use code GWLS at checkout and get 10% off. And it's really easy. You just take a scoop, maybe 2, if you need it. I recommend after trial and error, starting with 1 scoop, and put it in water before bed. Yeah. And then within an hour, you're groggy and you're sleepy and you can get yourself a good night's sleep.
It's a nice groggy too. I'll say it again. Yeah. Like, look, these things are not super priced horribly. I believe it's in the $30 to $40 range. And when you find out how many scoops you get or how many nights sleep you get out of that, worth every cent. I'm going to say this one more time. We completely vetted this company prior to doing this. I'm so happy with this stuff that I've stocked up on it in the house. And many of you have called me or asked me about this. I'm fully standing behind Cutscene. As someone who's a very light sleeper, or someone who is usually very energetic at night because of playing hockey or doing other things or yelling at my sports teams, Ray knows what I'm talking about. Taking this gives you that ability to just kind of come down a little bit and get yourself to a good night's sleep without waking up horribly groggy, as you said, Ray. You wake up feeling rested, which is something that has eluded us for decades. But now we have found it. I mean this. I actually mean what I'm saying. Like I wake up feeling like, wow, I feel like I slept. Even if my kids jump on me. So cutscene is really great for that. Keep in mind, I'm giving the sports side of it from a gaming standpoint. If you're someone who's watching a lot of blue light, this is really something essential. And everyone knows, medically speaking, it has been proven you need to sleep. You need to sleep well. All right. So cutscene helps us.
And from the gamer side, obviously, I can vouch for it as somebody who plays, who's obviously on a computer all day long, who is, editing and voicing and all this other stuff, and then goes and plays 6 to 8 hours of games to relax. It does help me relax in some ways, but it also wires me up in others.
It does.
And and I need something to kind of help get me to sleep. Cutscene is great. So go to cutscenesleep.com.
Both gonna hold them up.
Yes, we'll both hold them up again.
Bam. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, the Macho Man. Oh, the cream of the crop rises to the top, and the cutscene goes in the water before I go to bed. Yeah. Cutscenesleep.com. Use code GWLS at checkout. Get 10% off. Support us and support Cutscene. So there you go. And now on to the geek section of the show.
Good. So, I've been looking forward to this. We got two massive topics this week, but we also got to go over some rules we created, Ray.
Yes, we are going to go over because this is something that I talked to Lee about, because it's the first time in a while that something that Marvel did with Loki episode 4, where they were trending on Twitter basically almost immediately after the show debuted. Right. It was the first time in a while. And so I was like, oh, I have to go watch this now, because if I don't, I'm going to get spoiled. Right. And so we've decided to come up with it, because this has happened a lot now over the past couple of years, especially with the Disney Plus stuff, where there are people who just don't seem to know when to shut up and when not to spoil things for people, not understanding that some of us can't watch things as soon as it drops. There'd be days where, especially when it was debuting at midnight, where I would be like, I would text Lee when he would get it at 4 a.m. and be like, watch immediately, don't get spoiled.
Get the warning.
So this way he knew that it was something big.
That's what a friend does, by the way, people. That's what a real friend does. They let you know.
And I did that with Loki this week too. I said, Loki, oh my God, Loki, holy cow.
Okay. So let me again set this up. These are the Geeks Who Like Sports spoiler rules. Share this with your friends. Share this with your families. Share this with that moron. You know exactly what I'm talking about. That spoils everything because they're giddy. Yes. Share this with the idiot who posts something that sounds elusive, but isn't elusive, because we're not morons. Like, I really hope that a Mandalorian doesn't show up with a green suit, which I've seen people do. Right? Yeah. These are the official, shareable, likable spoiler rules.
Yeah,
it's the Geeks Who Like Sports.
That person, by the way, that reminds me of like the person who says, like right before, it's like, I don't want you to take offense to this, but it's going to be something offensive that they're about to say.
Goodness gracious, we've had enough. We've had enough of people spoiling films. So we're going to go over again these official rules now. Starting with, there are 3 types of spoilers. Yes. This is how we've done this.
Yes,
there
3
are
tiers.
Mild spoilers, major spoilers, and earth-shattering, game-changing spoilers. We'll give examples of all 3, starting from the top. An earth-shattering, game-changing spoiler would be Luke Skywalker showing up in The Mandalorian.
Yes, and wreaking havoc.
Right. There are very few moments in television or film history that were as big as that.
Yeah.
Our rule, Ray, is that is a 1-week embargo, which is really hard. We know no one thinks that's possible, but something that large, you should not speak about for a week.
Yeah,
give everyone
not publicly. By the way, we should also mention that if you're talking to a friend, like, did you see the episode? And obviously,
that's not a spoiler at that point.
Right, it's not right. Yeah. Exactly. Yes.
Right. So again, yes, something that big. Don't have it trending on Twitter. Don't change your profile picture, you morons. Keep it quiet for the respect of other people. These are rules. We'll come up with punishments in another episode. If it's that big, try and hold it in. All right. And at minimum, this is for all three types. Ask, have you seen the episode?
Yeah.
And if they say no, just gasp and don't say anything. Don't even say, well, I don't, this isn't a spoiler, but when someone shows up. That is a spoiler, you idiot.
Mm.
Okay. So that's earth shattering. They're very rare, to be fair. These only happen like once or twice a decade.
Yeah.
Okay, they're very rare. Let's go down the list. Major spoiler. Major spoiler would be Boba Fett showing up again.
Yeah.
Or screwing up and telling someone the ending of a show or a movie they haven't seen.
Yeah.
Not as harsh on this one, 48 hours.
Yeah.
Give it 2 days, okay? It's tougher if it's a movie. This is where you kind of have to make sure you ask people. But I think that like if a Marvel movie or DC movie or any movie, Star Wars comes out, if you're a huge fan, you're probably going to see that in the first 48 hours.
The good rule of thumb, I always say, is that if it comes out on a Friday, you got to give it the weekend.
Yeah. Yes. I think that that's super fair.
Yeah.
Okay. So 2 days at least, and then be mindful. Again, always asking, have you seen it yet?
Yeah.
Right. I should not have to not go on social media and comb because someone might post something like an idiot. You're not first to the game by telling everybody that you know. You're ruining it for people. The final spoiler, and we can discuss this, is the minor spoiler. I would constitute that as an inconsequential cameo.
Yeah.
Okay. Someone shows up, they're there, kind of like
Daredevil and She-Hulk.
Yeah. Like it's like, okay, it's minor. It doesn't affect the storyline horribly.
Yeah.
24
it's
hours.
fun, but yeah.
Give it 24 hours. Boba Fett coming back in The Mandalorian. Should have had 24 hours. Everybody was sharing pictures of him within 10 seconds. It's like, what are you doing? This is the return of a major character. I don't think it's a major spoiler because at the time when he came back, it didn't really affect the storyline. So it's minor cameos. So there you go. 24 hours on minor spoilers, 48 hours on major spoilers, a week on earth-shattering, game-changing, might affect my youth spoilers. Those are the rules we've created. Do you agree with these rules? If you do, share them. Send them to your people. Tell them the geeks told you to not spoil the movie. Now, Ray, I know when something's special because people will not spoil stuff when it's really, really good, unless you're an idiot.
Yes.
Okay. And again, caveats here. You see those like things that people post that go like, oh, here's 4 pictures that without context, you don't know. Stop posting those.
Yeah.
So close to the episode.
Yeah.
You're not clever. You think you're clever. You're not. Creative minds will figure something out. Or worse, you'll think something and then it doesn't happen, thus ruining the episode even more.
Yeah.
Just keep your mouth shut.
Yeah.
For 24, 48, or a week. Please don't spoil the film.
We're going to put these on tablets and we're going to come down from a mountain with them.
Yeah.
And these are our spoiler commandments.
These are our 3 commandments.
Yes. These are our 4, Chris. 3 spoiler commandments.
Yes. Again, look, I don't understand the need to be like, oh, I know what happened. Like, it's great. You don't need to tell everybody. Don't ruin it for everybody else. Now, with that said, as we move a little bit to the next one, anything to add to this, Ray, from the spoiler sector? These are the Geeks rules.
No, I think you hit the nail on the head with them. I think those are good rules to try to live by. And I think that, and of course, obviously, it's a little harder sometimes for folks in media where, like, if you have to write an article or if you're like us, we're doing a podcast. But that's why we tell you beforehand, this is the spoiler section.
I was just going to say, hey, caveat, I'll show you how this works. In a moment, we're going to speak about Loki episode 4. If you have not seen that episode and you don't want it spoiled, you should not listen or watch the next segment of Geeks.
Pause the
Spoiler
podcast,
alert.
Go watch Loki, and then come back and finish the podcast.
That's how it's done.
Yeah.
It's not on a post, spoiler alert, and then a picture of the character.
Right. I'm not on Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it now saying, oh, guys, guess what? Loki, big stuff. Like,
don't do that. You know what you post? You post, you must watch Loki this week if you're a fan.
Exactly.
It's excellent. It's one of the best episodes I've ever seen.
Yes.
Enjoy it.
And I think, honestly, I think we should get into now, Lee, if I think we're good on the spoiler
alert. We're going to talk about Loki. Anyway, those are the Geeks rules. Pass them, share them, Bestow them upon your friends, and do not let other geeks ruin the movie or the show for you.
Yeah.
How long do I have to hold my finger up and point and stare at the camera here?
I think we're good. I think we're good.
Loki, wow, what is one of the best episodes of television I've seen.
This was one of the best episodes of TV. It's by far. I mean, look at this. I'll say this: Loki, and Lee, you mentioned it yesterday. Loki is the best stuff that Marvel has done since the last season of
Loki. Yeah,
yeah. Like, so I mean, it's really, really well done. It's one of the best episodes of television. It's a true cliffhanger because, folks, even with everything that me and Lee know about comic books. I don't want to talk to you for you, Lee, but like I have no idea what's coming.
Nobody knows where this is going, and it's beautiful. Yeah, I'll give Ray this compliment too. Like when Ray did text me, basically this text I got was "Holy shit, Loki." That's what he sent me.
Yeah,
which was also a heads up to me of don't let anybody spoil this for you. What was really refreshing as we kind of get into the spoilers here is whenever I see something from anybody, Ray, like, oh my god, you got to watch this. We've been trained now. It's like, okay, who shows up? What Avenger's going to show up and it's going to be an amazing cameo. And I'm looking, and this wasn't like this at all. It was just such a great written episode and a great ending that it was fantastic. Like that was the spoiler, right? It was like, no, it's really good. It made me think a little bit too about how, I don't remember, we talked about this yesterday too. I don't remember the last time there was a cliffhanger or something like this at an end of a Marvel show where it wasn't a cameo or it wasn't some tease for the next thing. There's nothing teased here. It's just, it ends. And for those of you who have not seen the episode, this is your final spoiler warning.
Yes.
Okay. The whole team fails, the time stream collapses, and everyone's dead. And that's how the episode ended. And it was fantastic. It's the Empire Strikes Back ending. I love it. We have no idea where this is going to go. Not just Loki, Ray. Now they might just keep this ending in the Loki timeline. But I mean, it could have massive, massive repercussions across the entire MCU.
Yes.
They could reboot the entire universe if they wanted to, right?
From this moment, this could be where we get the X-Men. This could be where we get Fantastic Four.
Right.
They could do so much with this. Now,
here's the other thing. We said this yesterday. The time stream collapsed. What does that mean? We don't even know what that means, right? So sacred timeline, variant timelines, we don't even know what it means.
They exploded.
Yeah, like what does that even mean? So you know what happened and you don't know what it means. That is a brilliant. You know how hard it is to write that? You know how hard it is to write something like that?
You know what I wonder, actually?
What?
I just said it. Everything exploded. What if that means there's more timelines than ever, and that's where all the Kangs come from?
Well, and again, as you're saying, Ray, time does not exist in the TVA, for those of you who have seen it. Right? So it's not like it's the end of something.
Yeah.
Right.
No, it's the beginning of something else.
Could be anything. Linearly, there is no time in this place. So, like you said, this could be the start of the multiversal war.
Yeah.
Right. Which is what Kang alludes to. Right. Like we're seeing the birth of that. Now, this is the funny thing about that and the good thing about that. If we're right about that, it really means that all of Phase 4 was just a wishy-washy waste of my time.
I think Phase 4 was a wishy-washy, timey-wimey waste of our time anyway.
100%. Anyway, it's true. But this is what's funny about it is that now if this is the start of the multiversal war, it's like from Loki season 1 to Loki season 2, they could pick up and actually get some traction here in the right way. Okay. And then all these characters will come back now. But again, I don't know what the time temporal flux or whatever you want to call it means. I do know that we saw Victor Timely completely spaghettified as he
which
walked,
was amazing.
No, but I didn't see that come. And they set it up so good. He's gonna make it. He's gonna do it. He just spaghettifies, which is also scientifically somewhat accurate because I'm gonna guess temporal radiation is a lot like a black hole, so it's like you would be spaghettified like that. It's pretty gruesome, and that wasn't even the most gruesome scene in the show this week.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, staying with the spaghettification, like, I mean, there were points where I saw somebody freeze frame it, like frame by frame, and like you could see his rib cage at one point. Like it just like they went full, like for Marvel television, this is by far the most gruesome thing they had done. Up to that point.
Most gruesome thing, I'm telling you. Yeah. Because early in the episode, you saw people crushed to death without seeing it. It's made it even worse.
That was very well done cinematically because basically Renslayer comes back. And also, by the way, very happy that basically last week's cliffhanger is immediate resolved with this week and they get into it. We predict. My prediction was that she's either a variant or like the comics, she's He Who Remains is like Kang's lover. It's kind of insinuated that basically they had a relationship. She was the general of his armies, and then he wipes her memory along with everybody at the TVA. Right? Yeah, well, he consciously makes that decision.
I'm going to say here's the other thing I don't know. Was he getting rid of her or protecting her? Because again, there's no time in these places. So that might be very well the road that Ravona's on now is to lead that army. We don't know. I love it. They gave you all this information. I haven't seen an ending like this since Lost was on TV. All right. And Lost famously ended every episode something like this. Yeah. Right. But it ends, it is complete drama. You have no idea what's going on. And it's such a refreshing feeling nowadays, Ray, that there was no resolution. And it's like, nope, you got to wait. You got to wait a week. I don't remember the last time I felt like that. I don't.
I'm counting down to the next episode, and it has been a while since I've been doing that.
Right. And that was our hope for this show. And again, there's a lot of other things that happen in the show in terms of Renslayer, but the big things here were that, she murders a lot of people. She's not good. Like she is evil. I think there might have been some, maybe she's she's evil. I still think it's very possible she's a Kang. Okay. Like I haven't taken that off the table yet. She's a murderer and she has no problem. Then Miss Minutes, on the other hand, she's just as evil.
Yes.
Right. And
she's Psycho Stalker ex-girlfriend. Like,
right.
And, but she's a computer.
And they shut her off in this episode too, but it doesn't matter now that they blew up the TVA. Again, it is so rare that you have such a satisfying episode that ends with no ending, really, or a complete ending, however you want to look at it, and you don't know where it's going. The other cool part of this episode, when I recant it, Ray, is, we knew in the first episode when Loki is time slipping, that someone pruned him to go back to his normal time, and we kind of had our theories that maybe it's going to be like that, and of course it's Loki that does it. This is what I want to say: Loki pruning Loki, not that crazy of a scene when you think about it.
Yeah.
But Hiddleston is such a good actor that there's so much emotion added to that wasn't there because of how good of an actor he is. Yeah. That, you're seeing peak Marvel here in a lot of ways. And then my final nod is just to Ouroboros and the scene where he is showing Victor Timely and everybody how to use the loom. And he's basically quoting Back to the Future line for line. And I have to give a nod for that, is that a huge Back to the Future fan. He's basically saying, I didn't have time to make this model to scale. And Mobius says, not Morbius, that would be bad. Mobius basically says, it's okay, everything's fine. It was line for line right out of Back to the Future. Yeah. So I appreciate the nod.
Yeah, no, it was great. Everybody gives amazing performances. I think that no matter what happens, the series will end with Mobius back on his timeline to retake his life. I think we are going to get at least a couple of good happy endings out of this. I hope.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, the thing with Mobius is I think he clearly knows where he was on the timeline, or maybe he doesn't, but something's off there. Like, they keep alluding to it. Like, you don't want to see who you were or what you did.
Yeah.
So something's going on there that they're going to unveil, right? I don't know if he's a bad guy or if he was a good guy or if he plays a role in this whole thing, which he probably does.
Yeah.
Right.
He's definitely a bigger piece to this puzzle now than was previously alluded to, I think, because to your point, Lee, they keep talking about his past and how he refuses to acknowledge it.
Yeah. So it might be something as simple as he was a bad dad, or it could be something as simple as, he's on the timeline and he does things. Yeah. But I am very interested to know where the hell we're going with this in the best possible way. I remember when we were watching WandaVision, we said the same thing with opposite context. I don't know where they're going and I don't really care. This has to make sense soon. Or the whole of Phase 4. Where are we going? Now we're sitting here where are we going?
Yes.
And it's a good feeling.
Yeah, it's exciting again, which is great. And I really genuinely hope that we figure it out. Well, we'll find out in a couple of days. And I hope they stick the landing, right? I mean, of any show, this is the one I have the most faith in. But we'll see.
Yeah. By the way, it's been well over 48 hours since the episode came out, thus following our own rules. But we're going to get into another thing now. So this is another spoiler alert.
Yes.
Spoiler alert. If you have not played Spider-Man 2 and you do not want to know how this game ends, click away from the episode now. We're giving you fair warning.
Yeah, I mean, and then also, by the way, it's also 10 days since release. So
10 days since release, and Ray has platinumed the game already because
I have platinumed it 100%. Every suit, every side mission, everything 100%.
Otisburg. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
Took me about 25 hours, and much like the first Spider-Man game, it's like a roller coaster, right? You have a really kind of slow build, slowly kind of just climbing, and then finally you hit the second half, and then you go down, and it's just like boom, 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 boom. Everything's happening all at once. It's like a bunch of different things going on. A lot of great ways, different takes on everything, that a lot of classic characters and suits and symbiotes and or symbiotes, depending on who you are.
Symbiote. Stop saying it wrong. Hate that.
You know what? Yeah, I know. The problem is that, like,
you sound like a damn fool when you say it wrong.
Even people in the game said it differently, which drove me, which was so. But yeah, quick overview. Obviously, the big thing about this game, if from the first game we were teased the Venom suit, right? That basically Harry Osborn is very sick, and that Norman is basically using an alien symbiote suit to save Harry. First thing we get, or very early in the game, the thing we get is that Harry realizes that the symbiote gives him special powers, and he designs a suit with the symbiote that makes him look like Agent Venom, which of course is a nod to Flash Thompson in the comics, who uses the Venom symbiote. Because again, the Venom symbiote's been worn by a lot of different characters in the comics, right? It's been worn by the Scorpion. Obviously, Eddie Brock is the OG. There is no Eddie Brock in this game. Then Kraven gets a killing blow on Spider-Man. The symbiote leaves Harry to save Peter. But the thing is, this has been teased the whole game, because the symbiote wants Peter's power. It recognizes that Harry's just a dude.
Right.
Peter's more than that.
That's a good twist. Yeah.
Yeah. So at this point, the symbiote leaves Harry, joins with Peter. We get the classic black suit, right? He gets the powers and all this other stuff. And now this is where I was kind of curious where they were going to go. You knew it was building to a big battle with Kraven, which, by the way, also, I'm not a huge fan of this, but I do appreciate that they also kind of prune a lot of the villains to kind of keep things clean going forward. Kraven kills Scorpion, Vulture, Electro,
like in one
and Shocker. Yeah, like by the halfway point of the game, Kraven has killed 4 of Spider-Man's other villains.
Wow.
Right? 4 of the of the Sinister Six, they're just gone. They're dead. And Kraven has been using their technology, right? Like, so there are Vulture bots that he uses to help him hunt Spider-Man now. Like, Kraven getting smarter, tracking his prey. You fight Kraven in a church. We get the classic scene with the church bell. This is where Kraven realizes, and everybody realizes, the suit is weak against Sonic's. Kraven builds a bigger trap. Kraven then infects Kurt Connors. We never see it in the first game, but they've alluded to that Kurt Connors has been the Lizard before. Kraven induces him to become the Lizard again, and it's basically a trap because obviously Spidey has very close to Kurt Connors. He's going to go save the Lizard. He does, but in the process falls into Kraven's trap. It's at this point where I believe that 2 things are going to happen. Either the suit is going to join with Harry, or much like how the suit at one point joins with Scorpion in the comics, the suit is going to join with Kraven, right? Because again, going from powerful character to powerful character and whatnot, at this point, Kraven is probably actually the most powerful character in the game. And by the way, and also Harry is terminally ill. Peter is dying when the suit takes him. Kraven also has cancer. We learned this, right? That's the reason why he's come to New York looking for his final great hunt. He knows he's dying. He obviously has his own super serum that makes him Kraven the Hunter, which is true to the comics, but he's dying anyway. So my thought is there's one of 2 things going to happen. You fight Kraven, Miles comes in and helps separate the suit from you because you realize you're about to kill Kraven, and Miles is like, this isn't you. The suit leaves. You contain the suit. You bring it back to Oscorp to try to you want to study it. You want all this other stuff. And Harry's like, but I'm sick. Harry busts open the canister. Harry then, his hatred, because he feels that Peter is trying to kill him by not giving him the symbiote. Plus, now the symbiote's souped up from Spidey powers, we get true Venom. It's Harry Osborn.
Awesome.
Yeah. Which is also,
was that the first time Miles was in the game at this point?
No, Miles has been in the game like a few times before.
I know. I'm sorry. Is that the first time his appearance in this game? Is what I'm trying to say.
No. Miles is in the game from the beginning. You can. Okay. There's actually some. I'll say this: Miles has his own stuff going on, which is really cool. He's got his own storyline. Like he's got his not until around this point do really the two stories really kind of come together.
Right. Gotcha.
Right. Like Peter's doing his thing, Miles is doing his thing, and then they interact one another. By the way, when you're doing street crime. And suddenly it just so happens to also be that Miles will swing in, or if you're playing as Miles and Peter will sometimes randomly swing in to help out. And there are other characters in the game. When Harry has the Venom symbiote and he's good before he becomes evil Venom, he helps you out. There's another character called Wraith who was taken from the Dan Slott Spider-Man run of comics. Sometimes she's fighting these guys. And I'll say this, the game does an amazing job with its side quests. They introduced the Chameleon through side quests.
Cool.
They introduce NT's Carnage through side quests. You're tracking Cletus Cassidy, the serial killer, and the side quest ends with him getting a red symbiote and flying away. And he's like, I'll see you again. And I was like, is this DLC? Is this Spider-Man 3? Like, anybody who knows Spider-Man knows what that red symbiote's going to be with Cletus Cassidy. And that's the other thing. What they did with the symbiotes in terms of making the symbiotes super powered, making them that there's already spawning. At one point, one of the symbiotes infects Mary Jane, and she becomes Scream, the yellow symbiote with the red hair from the comics. They did a really great job of taking old school comic characters and giving them modern twists in ways that fit this story.
Any toxin?
So there is one character that kind of looks. So the minions of Venom all take on forms from other symbiotes. So one looks like Toxin, and then the four others look like the other Life Foundation members, right? Because if you don't remember, for those who don't know about separation anxiety, a little history lesson here. Separation anxiety was basically Venom continue. Obviously Carnage comes from Venom, but Venom continues to reproduce. Although I think in Separation Anxiety, they did it from Carnage. Depends on which version you read, I think. I think the video game took it from Carnage to make it easier. I think the actual comics took it from Venom, but I can't remember. And basically you had Agony and you had Riot. You had basically like an all black, super pumped up version. You had one that was super quick with tendrils. You had one that liked to use blades. All the minions are homages to the Life Foundation symbiotes that you have to do as you fight through New York City to get back to Venom to try to stop his plan, which is basically turn the world into a symbiote world. He wants to cover the world in black goo, for lack of a better term.
Very Spider-Man.
Very Spider-Man. And again, folks, this is obviously very spoiler heavy. They really knocked it out of the park. Again, I think the way they did the storylines, I think the way they did the character development, I wasn't a huge fan of the Mary Jane stealth missions, but I don't think, that's something that they've said that's something they want to continue to do because they want Mary Jane to have her own sense of being a hero and that she is really, it's also a way to show how important she still is to Peter's life, right? She isn't just window dressing. Right, she is a strong female character on her own, and there are points where Mary Jane is as important to this plot at certain points as Peter and Miles is, right? Because of her investigative journalism, because of her tracking down the lizard at one point, she's a big crux for certain narrative beats. And then Spider-Man, in order to save the day, you find out that he's still infected by the Venom symbiote. It becomes anti-Venom.
Wow. That's cool.
He becomes anti-Venom, which, of course, for folks who don't know, Eddie Brock later becomes anti-Venom, which is basically an inverse of the Venom suit. It's white with the black trim. And Spidey has to use the anti-Venom suit to stop all the Venom symbiotes. And it just becomes it's just epic on so many levels. And then in the end, they finally tease it because Harry is basically comatose and he's on his deathbed, and Norman blames Spider-Man, and he's like, "Get me the G serum." Goblin serum. He's gonna finally become the Green Goblin.
That's really cool. I'm looking up anti-venom right now just to see. You maybe want to look at it. That's awesome that they went that route.
Yeah, I mean, this is the beautiful thing. It's very different from any other take on Spider-Man.
Well, and that's the point.
But it makes sense.
It's its own universe, right?
And by the way, the nods to Into the Spider-Verse and Beyond the Spider-Verse and all that other stuff, there's even a reference to a character. There is a character who was deleted from Across the Spider-Verse. Like, there was a deleted scene. There's that character shows up in the game.
Wow, that's awesome.
Like, there's references to Spider-Man 2099 here, and Peter's like, "Who's Miguel?"
That's good.
Like, and it's just like, because again, remember, this Spider-Man also does appear in Across the Spider-Verse. Right. So like, you wonder, like, if this takes place before that, this could be a lead into Across the Spider-Verse. Like, there's how it all ties together in a way that makes sense. Again, setting up possibly Cletus Cassidy, setting up Green Goblin. By the way, Doc Ock is still alive in this. He's one of the guys that Kraven doesn't kill. They're teasing that he's going to come back in the next game now, and possibly like a new Sinister Six. Like, there's the Sandman is in this. Mysterio is in this. It's phenomenal.
10 out of 10.
Phenomenal. I wouldn't say 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
Again, the Mary Jane stuff kind of like, there's a couple of moments. It's not, I would say 9.25 out of 10.
Wow, that's pretty high praise. And I'll tell you what's cool is it sounds like they really understand Spider-Man over at Sony, at least in the gaming world. Clearly.
Well, Insomniac, it's Insomniac who develops
Excuse me, you're absolutely right. Yeah,
it's not Sony in as a parent company, because Sony's stupid. Insomniac though really knows what they're doing, and now I can't wait for next year with their Wolverine game.
Well, which they're saying is
in the same universe.
They're saying it's in the same universe, which I've heard about. Now I'm starting to get mildly jealous. Although I did see a post like, how bad is Xbox or Microsoft going to be hurt by this? I'm like, what are you talking about? They're not. Yeah. It's a grain of sand in a desert.
Well, I mean, that's the thing, right? People forget the first Spider-Man came out in 2018. You had the Miles Morales Spider-Man come up in 2020.
Which is great. Yeah.
You had this in 2023, probably delayed a bit because of the pandemic. Probably would have been probably scheduled for like 2022, right? Originally. And like, look, and now you're going to have Wolverine in 2024. I think, like, by the way, this game also teases the Fantastic Four. It teases the Avengers.
Wow.
Right? Like, so, I mean, goodness knows, I hope that they do expand this into an even bigger. Just let Insomniac handle it from here on out. Insomniac knows what they're doing. They're
because the Avengers game that was released was okay. It was not
Insomniac. That was not Insomniac.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying. Let them handle it.
Yeah. So I
Excellent.
mean, yeah. Look, I know I kind of just recapped the story there.
That's okay. Look, it was a spoiler alert.
Yeah. The game. Again, the homage it pays, how it works in these. And by the way, redemption is a huge thing in this, right? It's about Mysterio being redeemed. Tombstone has a storyline where he gets redeemed. Like, a lot of the villains are trying to find the Sandman was trying. The reason why Sandman goes crazy is because Kraven was hunting him, and that's how you get introduced to Kraven, right? Because Kraven's trying to get the biggest and best hunts, and that's why he goes to New York City, and that's why he kills Scorpion, that's why he kills Vulture. He's looking for that last great hunt, and that's how he meets Spider-Man.
That's
right.
Really cool.
And they did a phenomenal job with this. I cannot sing its praises enough. The gameplay is amazing. I mean, yeah, occasionally there's like, it's fine 42 collectibles. It's like, there's a little bit of gaminess here or there that's you're kind of like, but like, overall, again, 9.25 out of 10, because I'm wavering between a 9 and a 9.5, so I'm going to split the difference. And it just, right now, it's game of the year. Yeah. Right now, I've still got like a few things to play. I want to play Alan Wake 2, new Sonic the Hedgehog game. I don't think Sonic the Hedgehog will knock it off, but I think Sonic's going to be very good, actually. Sonic Superstars. Yeah, this is right now, having not, again, with a handful of games still. I still got to play Baldur's Gate 3, handful of games still in my backlog. Spider-Man 2 though is phenomenal.
That's good. Spider-Man deserves to be on the higher end of these charts. Those are properties you don't want to see disrupted. right? So I'm glad that in a year that we've seen a Star Wars and a Spider-Man game, they both rank pretty high on your list.
As of right now, Spider-Man and Star Wars are 1, 2.
Right.
Right. And then 3 is a game called Cocoon, which is a terrific puzzle game that I know I recommended earlier a couple episodes ago. Those are my top 3 right now. It's Spider-Man, Star Wars, Cocoon.
Done.
Zelda's not even in my top 5.
Wow. Well, you don't like building things?
No. No, I don't. That's your job as the game maker.
Yeah, it's the players are the game makers now. I thought that was a little bit of an interesting move. That's for another episode, that basically Zelda went in a Fortnite build mode.
Well, and and again, to your point,
playing
it's
the
because
kids.
it's the Roblox, Minecraft, Fortnite generation, and that's fine. But then also don't be like, well, why didn't you love it like I loved it? It's like, because I'm a different generation than you.
Right.
It's still top 10 for me this year, but it'll probably finish in the top 10. I don't see there are enough games coming out to knock that out of it at this point, but that's not my jam. Not my jam.
It had its moments.
Yes, it had its moments, but as a whole cohesive experience, Spider-Man, Star Wars,
Spider-Man,
Cocoon.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah. So
we spoiled it for you.
Yes, we explained to you when not to spoil it, when followed our own rules, and then spoiled Loki and spoiled Spider-Man 2 for you. So
there you go. Follow the rules. Don't spoil the episode. It's like that movie. Don't be a fool.
Yes.
Stay in school. Anyway, that was fun. I told you, hefty topics today.
Yes, very hefty, very heavy topics. A lot of me ranting and rambling, and I apologize for that.
It's okay. People love your Ray rants. That's why they come.
Well, we appreciate that.
Let them know below, wherever you're watching this. It's the Ray rants is the reason you keep coming back.
Well, I appreciate it, everybody. But yeah, that's the episode for this week. So
okay, bye.
Yeah, no, thank you. No, we appreciate everybody. Be sure to stay tuned for the mashup coming out later this week. Have a great, safe Halloween, everybody. We really hope. By the way, we're recording this on the 30th. I just want to briefly mention it's the only day this year that all 4 major sports will be in action at the same time.
A special day.
Yeah. So you'll all be hearing this today after that, possibly. But again, that is an interesting, just a little interesting.
There's a game on tonight. That's what we're trying to say.
Yeah.
No matter what you are or what you watch, there's a game on tonight. Yeah.
No, exactly. So, but thank you for taking an hour and a half out of your day to listen to us. We really appreciate it as always. For Lee, I'm Ray. This has been Geeks Who Like Sports Season 2, Episode 5, our Halloween episode. We're back next week in normal clothes, most likely. Maybe. I might just wear this.
These are my normal clothes, pal.
I was gonna say this might be my normal outfit from now on. I might just wear this every episode now. Wait until next year, folks. I already got my Halloween costume for next year ready to go, and it's not going to be this. So, it's Lee's mustache. Anyway, everybody, thank you for listening or tuning in. We really appreciate it. Again, for Lee, I'm Ray. This has been Geeks Who Like Sports. Until next time, bye-bye. Good night, everybody.